Howdy, everybody, and welcome to Mostly Sports Talk. I'm Ken Allison, today along with Cobb Oxford, and Cobb, it's getting to be the fallish type weather finally around, and I don't know that I like it. You probably do.
Yeah, I prefer the fall and the spring to the extremes of.
Oh yeah, either one. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not.
But yeah, it is a beautiful day here in upstate South Carolina.
Yeah, and I'm a lover of the leaves and the color, and there's an old maple tree out in my front yard that has seen its better days. I'm afraid it's going, but it usually gets fantastically beautiful. Okay, a couple of things to talk about, and one of the things that I just before we come on the show every week, I watch on ESPN College Game Day and some of those things, and they're giving a little bit of love to Clemson.
Not much.
Not much, but they're giving some.
They're not going to give us any love. Not going to give Clemson any love until they beat Florida State.
That's right.
Until they remain undefeated and beat Florida State. That's what the national media is waiting on. And until then, as somebody pointed out, and I noticed it too because I watched most of game day Saturday, went an entire 3 hours and did not talk about Clemson.
At all. Yeah, I saw that on TNT. I watched it and didn't pay that much attention to what they were.
The Clemson alumni flag was out in the crowd, but other than that, so they are. But it is. It's probably a good thing that they're flying under the radar. Stay right there. Just don't bring the national pressure until you have to. But that's exactly what's happening. They've got to beat Miami. Then they'll have to beat NC State to set up the game that will decide the Atlantic Division.
I don't know if they are. I don't know if they are ignoring Clemson as much as they're ignoring the ACC. They like to talk about the SEC mostly, and then the Big Ten this year. Yeah,
some of that going on, but I mean, let's look at the SEC. The East is somewhat of a mess. Alabama seems to have found themselves now, but they've still got LSU and a rival game against Auburn. So who knows what's going to happen? The Big 12 has still got TCU, Baylor, and Oklahoma State. They're all three unbeaten.
And do they play each other?
Pac-12 has still got Utah, but I don't think Utah's going to make it undefeated. Southern Cal's already got 2 losses. The Pac-12 is not. Oregon's out. A lot of people had Oregon again before the season started. So I really don't know if the pundits know what to think right now. They're trying to ignore Florida State and Clemson, but Florida State and Clemson are right there. And and you look at the Coastal, you got Pitt, which is still unbeaten in the league.
That's weird, isn't it?
Duke has only 1 loss, and that's the Northwestern. But Northwestern has recently hit the skids. They were pretty good for a while, but they've gotten, I think, pounded the last couple of times out. And then everybody thought Georgia Tech was going to be a top 10 team. They're probably more of a bottom 1,000 team. They're not very good. They're right bad, and they're playing Florida State. Well, they're finding ways to lose.
Yeah.
And, Florida State is. I don't think Florida State's the Florida State of old. They can still run. Golson is not turning the ball over, which is. I think the reason they're probably still undefeated.
Do you think that has something to do with Jimbo Fisher's coaching of quarterbacks? He's a pretty good quarterback coach.
Oh, I think you got to credit him some, yeah. I mean, Golson had games at Notre Dame where he turned it over 4 and 5 times.
Yeah.
And but I think that's what's happening. I know Clemson fans are holding their collective breaths, and the national media is going to hold Clemson at arm's length because they all remember the severe beating that Florida State put on Clemson
a couple of years, 2 years
ago.
Here.
And how it just got totally out of control early, and Clemson was out of the game. And so they're not buying Clemson yet, and they're not going to buy Clemson until Clemson can slay that beast. And Clemson has had a nice little schedule here where 5 of the first 6 have been at home, and now 4 of the last 6 are on the road. So,
this week is another one of those that I have to consider. Here again, the word trap game. Miami is not. They're just not very good.
Well, we're going to find out whether they're any good or not. We're going to find out whether they want to bow up and be somebody,
save their coach's job. Probably.
Yeah, but are they real or are they not? And this is their opportunity to prove it. And Clemson is now in that position, sitting number 6 in the AP poll, which means absolutely nothing. To take everybody's best shot. So you go down there expecting to get Miami's best shot. And they have got a nice quarterback. But they have losses to Cincinnati. They almost blew a 3-touchdown lead against a Nebraska team that has proven to be not that good.
And it was also Cobb this week.
And they have no home. They have no home field advantage.
None.
Probably Wallace Wade Outdoor Stadium at Duke is now probably a better home field advantage than the Orange Bowl.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, it was announced this week that they have lost their leading tackler to an injury.
Yes, I saw
linebacker,
that.
I think.
Blew his knee out, and so they'll have to make a adjustment there. But I expect it to be a noon start. Tough to get going, but I expect it to be a competitive game, and again that will allow the national media not to give Clemson any more credit or any additional credit to what little credit they're getting right now. So
that's about right.
But I guarantee you the Clemson people that go will probably make more noise than the Miami people that are there. So, but Watson, I don't know what was going on in the first half last week. A little off.
I think could it have been adrenaline flow because all of the offs were long.
Well, and that's
long.
That's the most deep shots they've taken in a game this year, and so it took him a while to hook up, but he hooked up. Really, the first game this year that they haven't been able to run the ball very well, which indicated to me that Boston College's defense was all it was billed to be.
And the youth of the offensive line showed there too.
Yeah, that's what they're saying, that it was not the offensive line's best game, but still you had you amassed almost 500 yards in total offense, I believe it was.
Yeah, 420 for Watson.
Yeah, and
in passing,
you had, and they were allowing going into that game like 140 yards per game. So you like almost 5 times what they had been allowing to that time, and Florida State only scored 14 on them, and one of those was an offensive touchdown. So, Mom taught you not to play comparative scores, but
you can't help but do it always.
Clemson took one of the best defenses in the country and performed.
And they were so good prior to then, Cobb, that in many rankings they're still the number 1 defense in the country. After all that,
defensively, I think still giving up 1 touchdown a game that they probably shouldn't give up.
But that's second. You talking about Clemson?
Yeah.
Yeah, but late in the game, they do play those young people in there. They leave in a Bullware or a Curse or someone, but they still got all those young guys up there, which is a smart thing to do.
Well, they have to play.
Yeah.
They have to play. But
that's how these guys got good last year.
But they're giving up points in the fourth quarter, which kind of makes you nervous. And the pieces are there. Plus, you get Reeder back this week from
wonder how soon he'll play.
From his sabbatical, I guess you can call it.
Yeah.
I know Sweeney was asked Saturday that I think the Clemson manual lists a 6-game suspension for use of certain materials, and he just said that it was coincidence that it was that it was personal reasons, and they say he's been working out. Certainly a good time to be getting some depth in the defensive line, and hopefully he will make a difference. But he'll have to play himself into football shape a little bit, I'm sure. But at least you've got another body you can use for maybe 5 or 10 plays. That's a very experienced player.
Yeah, and down at South Beach it'll be hot, and that'll help.
You would think. I don't know. I haven't looked at I'll look at the extended forecast. I haven't done that yet. But, yeah, you would think it'll be humid, a little humid down there, a little warm. But Clemson is conditioned well. And in these days and times, everybody's conditioned.
You're about right, too, yeah.
It's not going to make that big a difference. And plus, Clemson plays the tempo. And
the defense is used to matching up with that offense.
It's not like Clemson doesn't play in heat and humidity itself.
That's right, yeah.
So,
moving on from Clemson for just a moment, while you're looking up the weather forecast for Miami, I've asked a couple of Carolina fans how it feels to have a cheerleader for a coach. They gave Dabo, they've given him hell for 7 years because he's a cheerleader, and Sean Elliott, who evidently is one heck of a guy.
Yeah.
And he the team embraced him.
85 degrees with a 40%,
all right,
with a 40% chance of showers.
Okay, that's humid.
Well, I think it's a valid parallel comparison. The only difference is Tommy Bowden got gassed and Steve Spurrier just decided to quit. So,
yeah.
But other than that, you put a guy in there with a little enthusiasm at midseason for a team that's kind of reeling, and see what he can do. And he got by Vanderbilt. He's got a little bit bigger challenge this week, but
is it this week or
next week?
Next week, yeah.
Next week, I think they have this week off.
They go out to a little place in Texas.
Yeah. So
yeah.
they've still got some, and they still got Florida on the schedule, and Clemson. But they'll play like their hair's on fire against Clemson. They'll have nothing to lose.
Yeah,
so it'll
right.
be, and God forbid they rise up, and ruin an undefeated season.
That would make their season.
There would be great wailing and gnashing of teeth around Clemson Nation if that happened. So, but anyway, yeah, good for them. He played rap and rock and roll throughout practice last week. Spurrier used to cut it off after the exercise portion. They play it throughout practice up at Clemson. That's just something that
it's the kids of this day.
Kids do these days that my coach would have had a hissy fit had we talked about playing music throughout practice. Just wasn't that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But anyway, they I don't know if they've got the ship righted, but they're probably having a little fun again, and so we'll see what happens.
Some strange things always happen.